It started with a question I was asked: what's a reasonable monthly SEO investment? My initial thought was the classic, how much you got? Then I decided to tap into my vast experience in this space. Whoops, I didn't have vast experience in SEO, or any really. A few weeks of research, learning, and deep diving into the current state of SEO and AI ensued, and I'm going to share the highlights with you. Here's the TLDR. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on AI SEO in my business. First, let's do some myth busting. Most solopreneurs and creators believe that SEO means finding a few magic keywords, sprinkling them like pixie dust on your content, and then watch as Google sends you massive amounts of traffic and leads. Well, the year 2005 just called, and it wants its SEO strategy back. Back then, just having the right keywords and any backlinks would be enough to have your content rank high in search. But today, it's all about all you can eat, EEAT. Google is looking for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Those elements and many more come from Google's Search Quality Rater Guidelines, a 200-page PDF that Google uses to train their human quality raters, which direct their algorithm design. The biggest difference in SEO today versus years past is that no single article moves the needle on all those dimensions. It's the totality of all the content on your website and even beyond your entire online presence that determines your EEAT in Google's mind. To have a chance to rank, you need to demonstrate that. Then inside each content piece, it needs to be truly useful and helpful. Case in point, Google made a big algorithm update called the Helpful Content Update that deranks content and sites that are not helpful, that are just regurgitating the same information that everyone else does. So what does work in SEO then? The two models I found that seem to work in 2025 are: one, really high-end content and a ton of outreach and effort to get links and visibility to it, or two, publishing at a high volume, AI assisted, and covering your niche in extreme depth, hundreds or even thousands of articles. So number one is what most of us are tempted with, high-end content and outreach, but where we don't understand the effort and the cost involved. It's easy to think, I'll just dedicate a Saturday and bang out a 4,000-word definitive guide and then ask a couple of people to link to it. Now, you may be able to create that great content, but you may not know that you are competing with folks that are running outreach campaigns to thousands of sites and other bloggers and influencers to get backlinks. You would also be targeting keywords that you have zero chance of ranking for because you don't have that EEAT yet. So number two is the high volume of content and topical authority. That's the new model that AI opens the door to. If you don't have a lot of backlinks and authority, the only other way to rank is by establishing what's called topical authority. What that means is covering a topic in such breadth and depth that Google will rank you because you become a primary or authoritative source. Why would they do that? Well, because after advertising, Google's second goal is to actually help people find things. So if people's search ends at your site because it's incredibly comprehensive, Google will rank it even if you don't have backlinks. Where AI comes in is making the cost more reasonable to create a high volume of content. To establish topical authority, hundreds or even thousands of articles and posts need to be created. Paying humans to do that as a non-starter as a solopreneur or small creator. But with AI, we can amplify our efforts. But it's also important to avoid generating a ton of crappy and not useful content. If all we do is tell ChatGPT to write 100 blog posts about our niche, you'll get short, generic, and largely useless results that are the same as what thousands of other people are doing. So don't do that. Remember, search engines are looking for experience and expertise. The content has to deliver value. In other words, each piece needs to have something net new, whether it's a new idea, a new way of packaging an idea, a new piece of data, a new trend, or anything like that. If you can work those into each piece, it is then unique and more useful and different than something that anybody else trying to just use AI would be able to create. So okay, but you're probably asking, what's the deal with keywords? In my research, I found the answer to why I could never rank for anything despite having better content, in my clearly not so humble opinion. The reason is that Google puts all of our websites into tiers of trust. There's that EEAT again, based on our traffic. If our site gets low traffic, we're put in a low tier. We only have a chance of ranking for keywords with very low volume. I would love to rank for the keyword content marketing. It's high volume, directly related to my business and so on, but my site has nowhere near that traffic and EEAT to rank for that yet. So what do? The avalanche strategy. The gist of it is to aim for the keywords you have a chance of ranking for, even if very low volume, then start accumulating volume, like a snowball or an avalanche rolling downhill. As you accumulate that volume, you can go after slightly higher volume keywords because now you have a bit more traffic from the first set and you move up a tier in Google's eyes. It's basically building a pyramid where at the bottom is a lot of articles going after low volume keywords related to your main one. Then once the totality of those generates traffic, you can move up to the next layer of the pyramid. And eventually you build your way up to the top tier keywords. So here's an example, simplified SEO plan. If I want to rank for content marketing, a top tier keyword, say it has 50,000 search volume. What are secondary keywords that roll up to that one? It might be content repurposing, content strategy, content plan. Say each of those has 1,000 to 10,000 search volume. That still might be a little too high starting out. So what's the third tier underneath of each one of those? Under content repurposing, it could be repurpose old content, repurpose video content. Each of those may only have a couple hundred search volume volume a month or less, but those are places where I have a chance of ranking now, even with no backlinks. So if I write 10 articles targeting all the tertiary or third level keywords under content marketing and then under content repurposing, I get a shot at 10 keywords times maybe 100 search volume a month. I have a good chance of ranking for those and raising my EEAT score there. That then gives me a chance to start ranking for content repurposing. Then I need to do the same for all the other secondary keywords under content marketing, find their tertiary or low volume keywords, start writing articles about those and accumulate at that tier, then move up to the next one. Once I've got good coverage of all the secondary keywords and my site traffic is approaching the higher tiers, really only now do I have a chance of ranking for content marketing. And as you do that and publish all these articles that are useful, you'll most likely also generate backlinks to them. If you're posting them, if you're repurposing them on social media, if you're doing videos like this and then pointing back to your content, you're also going to get backlinks at that time, but this strategy doesn't depend on that. Now that's a simplified example. It would take hundreds of articles covering many of those tertiary keywords and dozens of secondaries and a few definitive guides related to the primary. So how does this jive with what I mentioned about creating unique content? I mean, who has time to write hundreds of unique content pieces? Good question. Here's how. I write one long-form email newsletter just about every week. In the process of doing that is where I encapsulate all of my thoughts and experience building my business and those of our customers and clients. That's where I develop and describe my frameworks like the Expert Business Blueprint, the Expert Business System, our content engine, and others. Those are my unique experiences and frameworks. Then I train AI on those and from those content pillar pieces and frameworks and examples and all the things that I've written about them. Once it's trained, I can have AI generate a lot of the articles for the low and medium keywords using the combination of AI knowledge infused with all of my knowledge, experience, and expertise, but without having to write each article from scratch. Why will it work for SEO? Well, the process of doing all of the above establishes that EEAT for your site and moves it higher in the traffic tiers over time. This is all regardless of backlinks. Like I said, backlinks will come naturally as your site becomes a go-to resource. Okay, so what do we do as creators and solopreneurs? Is this a lot of work? Yes. Am I going to do it? Yes. There are people in your niche doing this right now. AI is bringing the cost closer to what we as solopreneurs and creators can afford. Either way, it's usually a long game, so you need to consider SEO alongside other marketing methods like ads, social media, and so on that can amplify and accelerate your efforts. Focusing on search as one channel totally makes sense as part of a long-term diversified strategy. But no effective marketing channel is easy or cheap. Search was easy 15 years ago, but today it takes either time, money, or both. The benefits compound over time if you do it right, and if you strategically use ads and outreach campaigns to amplify your efforts, then you're going to start to see some success. Now, if you want help in establishing such a content engine in your business, check out the links below this video and be sure to watch this one next.